me, sir, JB is your name, sir, and all due respect, yes, 1 out of 3 people by the 22nd century will be African, and the the sub-Saharan population will dominate the continent of Africa in terms of numbers, and they will spread, they will through immigration, they will continue to spread throughout the world in Europe and all that. So that's likely you'll start to see the population of biracials or mixed people grow in Europe and some in the so-called Americas, mostly in Europe though, and in some places in Asia. But the Asian, I'm just speaking specifically to the decline and the uptick. Asia's population will begin to decline by 2050, particularly China. And India, and then the incline will happen in sub-Saharan Africa. And in terms of Europe,
in terms of Europe, 30 seconds. You've been doing 30 minutes here, man. Oh, hold on, because I got other people on stage that haven't even spoken yet, bro. I promise I'll get back to you.
Quick question.
Now you want to say something?
Yeah, quick question, and I'm not even trying to be funny. Anybody have a theory on what percentage of the population, like what Abe said 2030 or 2050? I think he said 2050. Anybody have a theory on what percentage of the population will be transhumanist? Because we are living in this, age of technology, the mergence of man and machine. What percentage of the population will be, half human, half Terminator? Y'all think it's gonna be the black and the Asian will be the last stand, and I can,
I can answer that question. I mean, we don't have any data on that. We do know that transhumanists. You do?
Yeah, so I have a very real quick on it. It's pretty long, but it goes in. I can put it in the chat. Basically, our scientists are saying that within 1,000 years, half of the population will be integrated with some kind of robotic.
You guys can't put your phones down.
But he's talking about
I know what he's talking about.
Wait, I already have a third leg.
Would you guys shut up for a second? Let somebody else talk. So I want to say hello to MJ, because
What's up?
MJ, hold on a second. I got you, bro. I was wondering why it took you so long to come to the stage, but whatever. I'm gonna go to MJ, then I want to get full Luke involved. MJ, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you
when
ask
the
me
mail link kicks in, we won't have to have appendages. We won't have to sit up here and type into the phone. We can just think thoughts, and things start to happen. We will have our lenses in, be able to see things, make decisions. It'll be a pretty interesting time. I hope I live.
Thank you, MJ. Hold on. No, go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying I'm voting for the robots. Humans are too destructive. Not that the robots won't be, because I think they'll turn on the humans. But humans hate each other. They hate themselves. They're at war constantly with God, nature, biology. So either the rapture is going to take us out, or the AIs, the ex machinas. And I'm here for it. By the way, for the record, I identify as a Time Lord. Just call me Dr. Who. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Who.
And I put that link in the chat for you guys.
Thank you. Can I go to Foluk? Because Foluk hasn't spoken. Am I saying your name right? Foluk? Foluk? He waits on stage for an hour and then leaves when I try to reach her. Hold on, Michael. I'm going to go to Mother, then Othello, then you. Michael, Mother, go ahead.
So, not really related to the transhumanist argument, but more of like the room title. So I actually think that this conversation is really interesting, because I was in that room this morning, JB, where I think originated this, and I think what I was saying, I actually said this last week. People love to use on this app anyone that they don't agree with. They love to tag them as being a racist on this app, and it's actually like that behavior has spread like COVID on this app. Everyone does it. And it kind of devalues the term entirely when you actually, now I question people who are constantly calling other people racist. It's like, are all these people that you're labeling actually racist, right? It actually, I don't even believe it anymore.
Nicholas, did you see how many people call me racist? How crazy was that?
There was like 10 people in there. Or I don't know, 10 is but I was reading the chat, right? But I was like caught off guard with it. But it also points to a bigger problem on this app. Anyone who is somewhat conservative, anyone who has any viewpoint that is not agreeing with Democrats is a racist on this app, and that is a problem. And I said that actually in that room, in that same space, that people in that room have a problem with doing this about a week ago. And I got so much.
Hey, JB, can I just address a joke tonight?
Oh, hold on 1 second. No.
It's just a joke.
Oh, no. Hold your joke. I want to get for Luke a chance. For Luke, Frolic. For Luke, are you there? Hello? You got to unmute, hon. It's the bottom right. Yeah, Rich, tell your funny joke.
Nye, I just want to say this joke, and I know all the racist black people are going to get really mad, but I am the master.
I love you. We're friends now.
Look at all the black people. Did he just say he's the master?
I get what he's saying. Okay.
I'm the master.
All right, masturbator. We're going to go.
It's Dr.
Michael. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on that Neanderthal thing, because a couple of miles from my village in the mountains of Eritrea, we have like 300,000 year old like tools, like obsidian tools. And I mean, I remember when we mixed with that Neanderthal, that was a bad goddamn mistake. So the problem was when we mixed with that Neanderthal. That's just what I want to say.
Thank you very much.
Look at all the Whovians in the chat.
Who cares? No pun intended. Othello, you want to chime in, Othello? You've been quiet for a whole 3 minutes.
JB, I don't know what your problem is with me, man. I don't speak over anybody. I just flash my mic when I want to talk. But no, I don't have much to say. I'm just enjoying the conversation. Thank you.
Let me tell you something. If I don't bust your chops, that means I don't like you. If I'm busting your chops, I like to respect you. I got you, kid.
Thank you.
Hello? Can anyone hear me? This is Foluke.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Thank God. Your phone works.
I have been struggling forever. This is my first time here this afternoon. And I am super excited with everything I've been hearing. But there is one thing that somebody talked about at the time. There's been so many things I've had that I actually wanted to talk about, but I'm probably not going to talk about them anymore because of time and other stuff. But the platform has been highly educative. And, but what baffles me most, because I live in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, to be precise, but originally from Nigeria. And, what baffles me most of the time is how, before coming to this country, there's a way I perceive the black and white. Of course, I never knew what is called racism. All we know over there is tribalism, And even the origin of tribalism, I have no clue. I have no idea what was going on. We just discovered one tribe tried to oppress the other, different things. And then one tribe, but when I got to this country a couple of years ago, I now discovered, oh my goodness, what is going on in the world is even better than what I saw over there back home. And for the first time, so many things I discovered, especially during anyway, I don't want to go into stories and histories, but I appreciated everything I've heard this afternoon. It's highly educative, but what baffles me most of the time is the inability of the black people to even come together as one. And that bothers me all the time, that how can we get a situation, thank God for internet, because internet, people can, the world has become a global village. People from any part of the world can come together and, do great things together, even without even living together.
What tribe are you from, Foluk?
I'm Yoruba, but it doesn't matter. Coming over to this part of the world, I don't even look at me anymore. All I try to see is a black person, is a black woman, and that if other people like the Indians have discovered how closely packed together they are, you can hardly enter into their midst. It will take them to trust you so much before they can, you can do anything with them. They do things within even though they live far apart from India. But with black, black, especially Nigerians or sub-Saharan African, like you call it, they are the most loose type of human beings I've seen. We're just loose all over the places. Trying to copy. Although I discovered, the way people behave is due to, a lot of the way we've been colonized mind. Our minds have been colonized. We don't believe in our things. We believe more in, in the whites. It's just a lot going on. But I don't want to talk about all that. But what bothers me most of the time is if others can stick together, what is stopping the Africans or the black people, especially in America? I don't care where you come from, whether you're from Ethiopia, Eritrea, or Nigeria, or, it doesn't matter.
Oh, thank you.
Is it religion? Religion shouldn't split us because we have our own way of worship before they bring all these religions to divide. It's all about divide and rule.
Thank you.
So that people should be able to open their eyes, to see beyond religion.
Thank you very much. I just have a question for the room. If anybody, why hasn't she been called a coon for what she's saying? Because if an American black said that, they'd be called a coon.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Miss Faluk, racism is just tribalism. That's all it is.
She said, why can't black Americans do that? I guess get on code and love each other and get along, because for that reason, miss, black Americans, and not all, but we see the conversation and the rhetoric. For some odd reason, we have this distrust in our community. Yeah. We don't love each other. Exactly. Enough is enough. We need to re-educate ourselves. Hold on. We've got to this point. Hold on.
Yeah, but JB did make a really good point. Now, if she was FBA, she'd be called Bed Lynch. She'd be called a traitor.
100%, most especially by black liberals. Mm-hmm. Listen, I get called a coon and a maggot and a trumpet all the time by black liberals on this app because I seemingly have conservative views. You find that a lot of black Americans, because they lean left, okay? If you don't think like them, talk like them, pray like them, eat like them, you know what I'm saying? I'm being a little exaggerating here, but they want you to have that, worker, I shouldn't say worker bee, share that same ideology that keeps them always blaming everyone for their problems. Blaming the white man, but blaming the black woman. It's all the same rhetoric. I get on this soapbox all the time. We're at the point now where you have black people saying that if you're a black woman and you want to get married and have babies, you're a pick-me. You have black people telling black men if they want to date and court women and get to know women and be kind to women, they're a simp. We have a very disturbing mental illness permeating in our community that truly needs to be a case study. We're the type of people that will fight to the death to be in spaces that don't want us instead of building up our own spaces and communities. You have black people who will say they don't want to support black, right? They don't want to support black businesses. They don't trust black women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But at the same time, and then when we come on this app and try to, I don't know how many black people in this room have been in black spaces where we try to come together to talk about the problems that plague our community while at the same time presenting solutions, and we have a million excuses about why the solutions will never work, right? So when I've heard some, not on this space, but I've heard the argument or the debate that, in 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, black people, black Americans, specifically foundational black Americans are still here, that the Asians and the Latinos will outnumber us. I believe it 100%. Look at where we are now. They say by 2030, the average income for the black family will be at zero. Nobody likes to talk about that. Nobody likes to even, and if you talk about it in the wrong space, we get mad, right? We can't even have honest discussions because everybody gets mad. Mike, I think it was Mike who said earlier, and Mike, if it wasn't you, forgive me, and I'll land here. Mike, I think it was Mike who said earlier, before Sid came in the room, he said the only reason why we're allowed to have these discussions, or that white voices, and I'm paraphrasing here, are allowed to have discussions like this, have these discussions with diverse, is if Sig was hosting the room. This is before Sig came in, because Sig allows for, diverse voices. If it was a black space hosting this room and white voices came up, they would immediately call the white person racist. Mike, I meant to say this at the time. If I was hosting a space and allowed diverse voices to come up to the space and speak, I would get pushed back too. I would be called a traitor, a race traitor, a coon. I got called a dirty cave bitch in this very room last week for defending a black gay man. So we're a race of people that hate each other. And I said what I said.
Well, thank you. Now let me jump in real quick, Sig, before I give you, because I have to ask Albert. Albert, man, I love you like a fat kid loves cake, but what the hell are you wearing, dude?
Oh man, it was a picture my son took for Father's Day. Actually,
happy Father's Day, my man.
What'd you say, Jay?
Yeah.
I actually wanted Albert's a friend. I consider Albert a friend, and I was busting his chops about what he's wearing in this picture. I had no idea what that is. But Albert, you want to let him in before I go to Sig?
Yeah, this is we have Black Americans, African Americans, whatever we choose to designate ourselves. We have a unique history here. It's called chattel slavery. That is quite different from continental Africans, even though we share the same ancestry. And it has put us in a precarious position. And one of the major reasons is because of the plantation. We've had to assimilate to a culture that oppressed us, and we've now internalized. And the way that we operate, and the way that we think, and the way that we feel lacks cultural integrity because of assimilation. And so we have a hard time coming to grips with our identity. It's evolved to this point where we have splinter groups that are pointed towards an attempt to identify who we are, such as ADOS, FBA. We've always tried to figure out a means of coalescing under one identification, but it's been very difficult because the effects of child slavery have caused disruption. I personally do not believe that there's self-hate. I believe that we've been disenfranchised and dispersed within this history that is just we're desensitized to who we are culturally because we have a history of slavery.
See, and respectfully, sir, that's my thing about it. I get it. But I do wonder, will we ever evolve to the point where we don't blame slavery for everything? Here's the thing. I will always acknowledge our history, and I will never minimize that. But I find it so intriguing sometimes that, specifically on this app, if you're black and you spend an unhealthy amount of time on this app like I do, you are aware, hopefully, of the number of clubhouse rooms hosted by black people, and all they spew is black hatred. And then we come in spaces like this and claim it's not happening. Or we play dumb, and I'm not saying that's your case, Albert, that we don't know when I say these things and point these things out, it's not happening, we don't know what's happening, we pretend like it's not happening. I find it so just if it wasn't so sad and intriguing, I probably would be entertained, but I'm not. Because that's part of the rhetoric. We will host spaces and spew anti-black rhetoric all day and blame each other for all our problems, and then come in spaces like this and say, that's not happening. What are you talking about? We'll blame Reaganomics, slavery, white oppression, Asian oppression, everything under the sun, but at the same time saying it's not happening. And right now, someone is giving me a side eye and thinking she's a bedwitch. That's how we do things, right? So I don't know. We gotta make our minds up here. Either the shit's happening or it's not happening.
And why? You can't take it.
Wait a second, gentlemen. I should address Albert. And I just will say this, in my opinion, Albert runs some of the best spaces on this app. Okay?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I will never invalidate what you're saying. Clubhouse can be unhealthy, but I'm taking my own personal extended effort. My spaces have been respectful, consistent. Anyone, JB is always coming to my spaces, and I've always respected him as a man that he is. And I don't have the problems in my space. Clubhouse is not a reflection of people in the tangible world. Unfortunately, people in the tangible world come here and abuse the space. And that's unfortunate, but that's the way of the world. I go out of my way to delineate what is going on in the tangible world from what happens here. Here is a facsimile, and I can definitely empathize and relate to your experience on Clubhouse, but curators like myself have made a personal effort to make sure that if you come in a space like mine, it's going to be that I'm a humanist, and we're going to respect humanity in my space.
Okay, Albert, let me ask you a question. Respectfully, Abe, I got you. So let me just ask Albert this one question. You've been on this app for a minute, as have I. You don't think this app is a microcosm of the real world?
In some aspects, yes. I think so. I think in some aspects, yes, but in others, no. No. In other areas, no. There's a bit of anonymity that gives a lot of leeway to the behavior. A lot of these actions and, disrespect and bad decorum, JB, you wouldn't be doing it outside. Some would be in jail. Others would be fired at their jobs. Other people would just not deal with you. I think that this is promoted throughout the app. Unfortunately, it is what it is, but this is human nature. So, but I wouldn't say it isn't a level of microcosm here. I would not deny that.
Thank you. Let me go to Abe.
Yeah. So, and why? You have to look at any population that you take and you enslave them for 400 plus years. You dehumanize them. You create an entire science around the notion of them being non-human. You codify in law that they're non-human. You create a religion around the idea of them being non-human that the dominant society practices. You put in the institutional systems that this particular population of people are non-human. Right, so in every facet of society, these people are classified as non-human for 400 plus years. And then after what? You give them 50 years or 55 years of somewhat of so-called full autonomy, and then not expect that there are going to be issues that don't arise out of that population. But even when you give them so-called autonomy, you still have systems in place that discriminates and that considers them to be still non-human. And the ideas of what you created in science still is pervasive today, like the John Hopkins study they showed where they dealt with 425,000 healthcare professionals, and doctors and nurses overwhelmingly said that Black people, these are doctors and nurses, nurse practitioners, people with bachelor's degrees in medicine, in terms of nursing, and doctors that said that Black people can withstand higher levels of pain, and that they don't give pain medicine to Black people because it's easier for Black people to become addicted, and they believe that most of the time when Black people come in or they complain about pain, it's because they want to get high. So, I mean, this and to say, well, we're blaming it on slavery when we still see the effects society and all our forms of institutions that underpin this country, still believing in racist tropes that go back to slavery, that actually predate the antebellum South. So yes, just like these institutions still hold on to race science that was created, or ideas that were created 120, 150, 200 years ago, yes, we're still going to be reeling from 400 years of slavery and really only 50 years of being considered fully human. 50 years. Out of 400 years, actually out of 500 years, 50 years that we've been considered as somewhat fully human, but actually socially we're not considered, because these notions still underpin, these institutions still underpin our society, which pushes these tropes that we're non-human. And we see it in the public square. We literally can see Ben Shapiro having conversations with other intelligent white people, saying basically that Black people just have low IQs and that we're not capable of reaching past that reality, and we have to be accepting of that.
Hey, man, I love your energy. Legit, no stroke. but you gotta let some things breathe sometimes, bro.
Yeah,
You're
I have
dropping
a
gems
question
and gems.
for him.
Well, I was gonna just go to you real quick, Nye and Sig. I'm bouncing in 5 minutes. You want to keep it open or close it?
We can close it, but I just or that's up to Sig. But let me just ask a question to him. Abe, you know, I love you, sir. I love your voice. Everything you've contributed to this room today has been spot on, and I will not argue against any of the points you just made because I agree. But I was highlighting why we as a people don't get along and love each other and trust each other collectively. So my question to you, based on everything you just said, are you suggesting, based on what you just said, all the truths that you just outlined, that these are the reasons why today in 2025, Black Americans collectively, I'm not talking about individual, what we're doing in our friend groups and our families and our churches, collectively, why we don't get along as a people and why we're constantly divided with black men this, black men that, black women this, black women that. That's what I meant to say. These are the reasons, because of systems in place, why we still hold each other in so low regard. Is that what you're suggesting? Because that was the point that I was trying to make, why we can't get along in this day and age, right? And we blame everything for these reasons as if we don't have the mental fortitude to rise above all of this, right? We love Jesus and God, and we're in the church. So why today in the 21st century, we're in the age of technology where they can plug a machine up to our brain and we can upload ourselves to the cloud, why we still cannot get along with each other? Are you suggesting because it's the systematic racism and Charlie Kirks of the world? This is just a question so I can get some clarity.
So we have risen above it many times, but we're under constant attack by the state, by political parties, by nefarious entities in this country, organizations, think tanks that are always thinking of ways to undermine our progress, to attack our families, and to attack our communities. We're under constant barrage. There's always entities in this country plotting against us and figuring out how they can use the law and how they can use the state to undermine our families and to harm us. So we're in constant flux because of that, right? And we're the only group that this happens to. They bring people into this country to play buffer classes against us. The whole model minority trope that is used against us is based off of anti-blackness. Look it up, model minority. It denotes that Black Americans are lazy and don't want to work, and we have a victim mindset, and that's why we're not successful. But here, look at these Asians. They're successful because they don't have that. It is predicated on anti-blackness. And I will say, when you talk about technology, well, we can't do what you said yet. Can't do that. However, when you look at AI and the development of AI, it is well documented. It is well researched that AI itself, the programmers of AI, the developers of AI, developed biases against Black people within AI. Yes, other minority groups, but particularly Black people when it comes to AI. So yes, every fabric of society, and that's a fact, and no one can prove me wrong on that.
Well, we have the neural link. That's what I was referring
I'd like to jump in.
Yeah, every system that exists and every system that is created in this country, including AI, will show you anti-Blackness. Even AI, when you ask AI, is there anti-Blackness within AI? You know what AI will tell you? Yes, there is implicit bias, and it will tell you because the people who developed me or developed AI had biases against Black people, but that because the technology brought other Black people in, there's an attempt to change that reality, right? But AI admits that it's anti-Black.
Chime in.
Go ahead, Albert.
Hold on, Albert. Just give me a second.
Sorry.
Real quick. No, it's okay. Sig, you're gonna keep it open because Nye and I are gonna be bailing in 5 minutes. What do you want to do, Sig?
Yeah, let's close it up in 5 minutes, man. I got some shit I gotta get into. Yeah.
Albert. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I tend to lean towards things that are quantifiable and qualitative, and not too ambiguous or esoteric. And to answer your question, NY, we endured a Holocaust. There's one thing to understand the system of racism, but the institution of racism. And because the way that white supremacy works, and that's of course the catchphrase that describes white Anglo-Saxon Protestant racism. is a system that disperses and disenfranchises any person, that any group of people that will oppose a hierarchy. And so when you understand that, and when you think about it, when you ask the direct question of why haven't we achieved what we've done to this point, is because of the literal environment.
Well, no, I'm really asking why we can't get along with each other. And if y'all are suggesting that we can't get along because the white man has said we're not human, so that's what I'm hearing. We're not. We don't like each other because the white man has told us we're not human, and so therefore we look at each other as not being human. So that's to put a cap on it. Is that where we are as a race? Because the white man has this power over us.
I'm not going to engage because I can't have proper dialogue. So.
Well, I mean, because that's you guys keep bringing up, like, as if we don't understand the systems of racism, which we do. I'm asking in 2025, we are still blaming the systems of racism why we don't get along as a people. You're suggesting that the white man or the white supremacist system that has said we ain't shit and we're lazy and we're not human, that drives our mentality and how we view each other. So we don't get along because we view each other as being not human and lazy. No one is I'm not arguing against systematic racism, right? I understand that's our history. I'm posing why do we not get along with each other? Because the African woman who was on she's still here, Faluke, she asked that. And I said that there's a lack of love in our community and a lack of respect. And we had two very eloquent, articulate, including yourself, Albert, intelligent speakers respond that it's because of systematic racism, that we don't hold each other in high regard. And I find that to be kind of puzzling.
Well, what I understand is when we're having these discussions, there's a thing called decorum, and where we have a fair exchange. And I explained it, but maybe you needed me to clarify it. But what I will not do is honor the lack of decorum. I don't do that, and this is the problem with Clubhouse. I don't do it. We all have input. It doesn't mean that we're going to be exactly right or not. We need each other, the bottom line. And I'm not going to do that. And anyone that comes in my space recognizes that right away. I deal with qualitative and quantitative information. I deal with data and facts. When it gets into philosophy and esotericism, that can slide anywhere. That could go anywhere. So, I mean, I'm not minimizing what you're saying. I'm saying we should have some type of decorum in talking about it because it exemplifies exactly what you're talking about. Literally what you're talking about, this is being exemplified right now. The unwillingness to be able to work together and develop a brain trust. We're not mute and dumb.
Hold on.
Can I make a suggestion, please?
Faluki, hold on 1 second, ma'am. Then I'm going to hand the mic to Nye and see if you can talk. I'm a little confused. Where is the lack of decorum? Maybe I didn't hear it. But Albert, can you tell me where the lack of decorum is?
Yeah. She's asking a question. And Ms. Faluke, with all disrespect.
I'm not asking a question. I want to make some suggestions.
And then
you guys can look into it.
Faluke, you gotta hold on, man. The man was speaking. Oh, he left. Man, jeez.
He wasn't saying nothing. God bless him, but he wasn't saying nothing. It was right back. It's my entire point. Every time we bring this stuff up, it's the white man, it's slavery, it's Reaganomics, it's WIC. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out why in 2025 black people don't get along, and they start talking about, well, the white man said we were lazy and 3/5 human. Okay.
that is the high. And then it created a bearish divergence from November 25th to 2024, which pushed it back down to that $1.82. So people said the same thing.